Alignment is one of those words we use casually, almost like a slogan. Stay aligned, get in alignment. But in practice, it is one of the most difficult and most transformative disciplines you can pursue. Because alignment isn't about saying the right things or projecting the right image. It's about the invisible symmetry between what you believe, what you value, and what you actually do. And the painful truth is that most people live misaligned. They live in a quiet fracture, where the life they perform in public doesn't match the life they endure in private. What keeps us misaligned isn't usually something dramatic. It's not always a crisis or a betrayal of our values in some obvious way. More often, it's the small patterns we tolerate, fear-driven decisions that disguise themselves as practicality, procrastination that masquerades as preparation, the endless seeking of approval that feels like connection but is really a slow erosion of the self. These patterns are subtle, but over time, they create a gap, a distance between who we are and who we pretend to be. And the larger that gap grows, the heavier life feels. Because every step requires us to carry the weight of our own dishonesty. Quietly eliminating these misaligned patterns doesn't mean reinventing yourself overnight. It means asking hard questions in the silence of your own mind. Why am I really doing this? Who am I trying to impress? What am I afraid would happen if I simply acted on what I know to be true? It means noticing when you are saying yes out of guilt, when you are delaying out of fear, when you are shrinking yourself for the comfort of others. These are not small compromises, they are withdrawals from your integrity. And integrity, once drained, leaves you bankrupt in a way no amount of success can fix. Philosophers and psychologists alike remind us that human beings crave coherence. Aristotle called it eudaimonia, a flourishing life, one in which your actions align with your highest good. Carl Jung described the suffering of modern people not as a lack of resources, but as a lack of meaning, born from living a life that contradicts the unconscious truth of who they are. Even contemporary research in behavioral science shows that misalignment produces cognitive dissonance, a psychological tension that exhausts us until we either change or numb ourselves. But here is where the quiet elimination matters. Alignment isn't about making grand declarations telling the world you're cutting ties, quitting everything, or starting fresh. That kind of drama is just another performance, another way of being misaligned. Real alignment begins in silence, in the unnoticed adjustments. It looks like removing one excuse from your vocabulary. It looks like saying no to the one commitment you know isn't right for you. It looks like ending the conversation with yourself that starts with someday and replacing it with action today. No applause, no audience, just the deep relief of finally moving in a direction that matches who you are. The difficulty, of course, is that misalignment often feels safer. It allows you to avoid disappointing others. It allows you to stay within the lines society has drawn. It gives you plausible deniability. If you fail, you can always say you were only doing what was expected. But safety is not the same as fulfillment. A life spent out of alignment may protect you from external criticism, but it condemns you to internal regret. And regret, when it comes, is merciless. So the challenge is to begin removing the subtle betrayals, the small but consistent ways you abandon yourself. Eliminate them not with fanfare, but with quiet conviction. Replace them with choices that may feel uncomfortable in the moment, but liberating in the long run. Each small act of alignment, invisible to others, begins to close the gap between who you are and how you live. And as that gap closes, life stops feeling like resistance and starts flowing with an ease that no amount of external approval could ever match. At its core, alignment is the practice of refusing to live a double life. It is the discipline of choosing honesty over image, action over excuse, integrity over comfort. It doesn't require perfection, but it does demand courage. And courage, when exercised consistently, becomes a kind of quiet freedom. So I will leave you with this thought. The world may never notice the subtle choices you make to bring your life into alignment, but you will. And in the silence of that recognition, you will feel something more powerful than applause. You will feel yourself coming home.